Good afternoon, dear listeners. Welcome to today's special edition of Caring Heart on Armed Forces Radio 107.7 FM. Caring Heart is where we discuss the critical issues affecting persons with disabilities and push for a more inclusive society. My name is Comrade Chris Abu, your host for this very impactful section. Today's topic is one that affects not just persons with disabilities, but the entire development trajectory of our nation. Is inclusive budgeting, how important it is to disability inclusive development. And to look at this, we have a guest in the house. She is a well-known disability rights advocate, the women leader, joins National Association of Persons with Disabilities FCT chapter, and she's also the executive director, Mimi James Foundation for Women and Children with Disabilities. As in no other person than Beatrice Awala Mube. Betty, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Yes, Betty has always been my friend, and I think she has been to this program on several occasions. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And she's a very busy person, always not wanting to come, but today we must have to have her around. You know, this is the time that the National Assembly is actually trying to push people are going to National Assembly for budget defense, and this is exactly why we are bringing this issue up, so that we draw attention of most of the policymakers, ministries, departments, agencies, to make sure that there is what we call disability inclusive budgeting. And that is why we had to bring it up, so that we will discuss it. People need to understand what inclusive budgeting is all about, and again to see that in their budget formulation, you know, and they make sure that issues of disability is well captured. Betty, so because most people may not really understand when we talk about inclusive budgeting or disability inclusive budgeting, can you educate our listeners more on what inclusive budgeting is all about?
Yeah, thank you, listeners. It's all about disability inclusion. The society is measured standing on inclusion as it stands, which disability inclusive budgeting is one of it. Disability inclusive budgeting is tailored towards allocating resources to address the specific needs and challenges faced by individuals with disability at the workplace and the society, at the local government, the state and the federal. This is to ensure that there is adequate provision made to make the workplace accessible for persons with disabilities, to ensure that all the needed assistive devices are in place to enhance effective and efficient job delivery.
Yes, you when you're doing the definition, you actually touch on the area of the importance of disability inclusive budgeting. But we want you to go deeper. Why is it very important that we have a budget that is well inclusive of persons with disabilities, towards ensuring that their issues are well captured?
Yes, the importance of disability inclusive budgeting can never be overemphasized, in the sense that if a person with disability is given a gainful employment, be it the private or public level, the organization has to ensure that the environment is conducive for job delivery, like I said earlier on. Yeah. Now, when presenting your budget for defense, always ensure that your budget is inclusive, because the needed assistive technology that will encourage and enhance full participation of persons with disability towards job delivery is the assistive devices. They will have, like, as our disability varies, we have various needs that makes us perform independently and productively at workplace. This ranging from wheelchair, hearing aid, sign language interpreters, to enhance communication. Now when you're making your budgets as an organization, you have to be intentional about making it inclusive, because these assistive devices are things that not readily, is not an occasional, is not a regular thing that happens when budgets are put in place. That is why we're advocating for inclusive budgeting, so that when you employ a person with disability, you have to make sure the environment is conducive. Now, if, for instance, I'm all physically challenged, I have my brother who's a wheelchair user, accessing this place today, there are ramps provided. That is one of the needs. And if it's not in place, on your own in the mid-year, you cannot just come about putting that ramp, because it is not in your budget. It's not your budget provision. So while making your budget, you have to make it inclusive by ensuring that there are provisions for the number of persons with disability in your organization. The ones who are physically challenged, you ensure that there is an elevator. You make sure they have a motorized wheelchair at workplace. Then the ones who are deaf, you can also make sure there are sign language interpreters. These are paid for. It's not something you do out of pocket, and before you know it, you'll be hearing things like, it's hard to maintain person with disabilities at work. But if your budget is inclusive, all this will be addressed and taken care of to make job place productive.
It's also very important that we also point out that it also boils down to even programs that you do. Every of your programs now has to also be made budgets for inclusions. Is also very important, because persons with disabilities are part of the society, so they need to also be involved in what is going on. So I want to know, what is the current state of disability inclusive budgeting in Nigeria?
Well, like you say, Rome is not built in a day, it's a gradual thing. We as advocates, we keep advocating, keep passionately advocating, sensitizing and pleading. It's a passionate appeal. It's not something that can just come out of the blues. It has to be intentional, and consistency, they say, can heal the wounds of time. We are passionately appealing from the state, local and federal government, and even private organizations. If you want to involve the services, you employ the services of persons with disabilities, you also have to take a step further by making the job place conducive. I will assure you that persons with disabilities, like I always say, they have this the law of natural compensation. Nature has a way of compensating us for one part of the body that we lost. So we are endowed with knowledge. I am telling you that we have think tanks in the disability community. We have a lot to produce, to contribute to the development of the society. So if you give us the opportunity, I beg you, we're going to be extraordinary, because we usually think outside the box, because we don't like to be dependent on people. So we are trained to be independent in our deliverables. So for us to come out in our very best, all we say is inclusion. Just make the society accessible, make the workplace conducive. By that, you'll get the best of us. Now, for the persons, for private organizations, it's hard to come by, see them employing persons with disabilities. I'm also advocating towards that. I am assuring you that there are persons with disabilities who are qualified to work in your space. Just give them the opportunity, make your environment conducive and accessible, and you get the best of us. We are capable, we can deliver, we can work. Just make the society accessible.
All right.
This is what we ask for.
I also want to know, because sometimes somebody will say, what effect would they have if I did really budget for persons with disabilities? Can we talk about the effect of it? Because we only talk about including us, but is this some of the is it going to be affecting the development of the nation, negatively, if persons with disabilities are not included, or the issues of disabilities are not included in the national budget?
Yes, just like every other human being, like I said, we have our quotas to produce, to present, bring to the table. Every human being without disability needs a mobility aid. The way you need your car to take you to the office. That is how a person with disability who uses a wheelchair user needs a wheelchair to enable productivity.
Yeah.
That
So
is
it reduces
how
productivity.
Yes, it increases productivity. When the environment is made conducive for everybody, you function productively. Same is applicable to persons with disabilities too. So if I come to an office where I can already have access, the best of me cannot be given. Because the fear of not falling down, the fear of making sure I come in safe and go out of this place safe, well, I'll be conscious of, my going in and coming out. So that fear will make me to be like, okay,
so
like
the contribution of a greater number of persons with disabilities will not be there any longer.
It will not be there any longer. So it will be good if we're intentional. Just like when we do our regular budget, we have what's called miscellaneous. Those miscellaneous cannot really readily fit in because the cost of devices are a bit on the high side. So it should have been intentional from the mapping, from the budgeting stage. You should be intentional of making your budget inclusive so that when need arises, even when they are not on your employment, need can arise tomorrow. You just the way you do your miscellaneous, you can just keep a little monies aside for assistive device to ensure the productivity of persons with disability in your organization.
So it's very important for people to actually know that it's not just a favor that they are doing to persons with disabilities. That is also for us to enhance the productivity level within the society when we make provision or when we include persons with disabilities in the budget. So we are increasing the productivity within the country. So it's very important that we also understand that. And again, it's also very important, also, I don't know, because when the people say at times that when you budget, the disability inclusive budget is mainly for persons with disabilities.
No.
But I disagree. I don't know who you agree with me.
I disagree too.
Because sometimes some of these, I will give you an example before you react to it. There have been a kind of a research carried out when a ramp was built. I think around Ministry of Education. They built a ramp and they also built a staircase. There's a staircase there already, but they now built a ramp. So somebody was kept there to be checking the number of people who uses the ramp and the number of people who uses the staircase. And at the end of the day, he finds out that more people uses the ramp than the staircase. So that's to tell you that the ramp is not just for only wheelchair users and crutches users. That even other people are making use of it. So I don't know. You may have some other examples to this.
Yes, when we talk of inclusive budgeting for persons with disability, it's actually for everybody because disability is everybody's business. All we are advocating for, please, our government from federal to local make the society accessible for the elderly. Old age can make you disabled. Auto crash can make you disabled. Domestic accident can make anyone disabled. You might wake up this morning healthy, the next one you're not sure of. We are not praying for more persons with disability in Nigeria because government have not finished taking care of those of us who already have disability. So we don't want our number to increase. But in case it occurs, all we are clamoring for, make the society inclusive. Like he just cited the example of the ramp. In the past, when we were advocating for building of ramp, they were like, oh, it will deface our structure. No, staircase, you just have a way of designing your building with staircases and it gives you a look that you want. Now, by the time we advocated and ramps were built, everybody, even people without disability, uses the ramp much more than staircases. You could see that it's not all about person with disability. Disability is everybody's business. And if there's an adage in my place that says, if you have not died, God has not finished creating you. In that much, we are not clamoring for more persons to become disabled in this country. We plead that we should make the society accessible for everybody.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because when you were speaking, you mentioned the accident. And I remember the story of one director that was telling, she met me, I was telling me about, there was a time, she told me on which I was like, before, when I see persons with disabilities, they've come to my office and they talk about, Madam, your office is upstairs. Why can't you provide lifts and all that? Actually, she doesn't see it as something that she have to include in the budget for it to be provided. But there was a time she now had an accident, and she went to the hospital and they told her that, oh, madam, you have temporal disability. You'll be on crutches for some months. And she said she couldn't access her office for 8 good months.
Great.
And when she come to work at times, she has to be downstairs to attend to some files.
Imagine.
And that was when it was done on her that truly there's something like that needed to be done.
Yeah.
You know, so people should understand this. It's not only maybe when you have permanent disability, you can have temporary disability, but what happens to you? What happens to your productivity at that level?
No.
So it's also very important that they know, they take note of all these things, yes, and do the right thing. When you budget for disability, you're not just budgeting for persons with disability, but it's for everyone. You know, so our program is audience participatory. We always give room for you to also be part of what we are discussing. So you can call us on 070 72 42 62 58. 070 72 42 62 58. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, it's Mama Francis speaking from National.
Okay, Mama, you can go on and make your contribution.
Yes, you have come now. Some time ago, I asked this question you are answering now. And there is different types of disability in the country. You know that we have a financial disability. Yes, if you don't have the money, you are poor, you cannot take care of your needs. If you don't have sense, I don't know this is disability. So when we are talking about disability, we are not just talking about those who are on cross, on those who cannot walk or do. So we have different types of all this problem in the country that the government needs to look into.
It's okay.
Even all this, you know that there are people now, there are people that are elderly people that are suffering with different types of disease, but you know, they need to be taken care of in a different way. So they are so highly neglected in the country. So the groups have to be made for different types of disability in the country.
Sorry.
I put my case. I think we are talking about it now. And the earlier we do it, could be better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you for your always calling to contribute to this program. Yes, you can. You heard what he said.
Yes.
So.
Thank you, my brother. It's really good to have you here listening to us. When you say you don't have money and that's a disability, is a no. That is a temporary measure that can be taken care of. But in most cases, disability is a permanent thing. So you can't attribute it. The challenges that comes with disability is enormous. It cannot be overemphasized.
You can't equate.
When you say somebody is broke and there is a disability, well, when the money comes, disability is gone. So can you also relate that to a man who is there on a wheelchair or is deaf, cannot hear or cannot see, whose disability is permanent? No. What we are talking about is making the society accessible. Yes. My brother, if in your village where you are, there is constant electricity, even without government job, you can survive. That's inclusion. That's government taking responsibility.
Yeah.
These are the things that can eradicate poverty and want of not having money. Okay.
Hello. Okay, we lost this caller.
Oh, sorry.
So you can call us on 070 72 42 62 58. 070 72 42 62 58. Call us to be part of part of what we are discussing. We are actually talking about inclusive budgeting. You know how important it is to disability inclusive development, and that's what we've been discussing today. And the guest we have in the house is Ambassador Beatrice Awala Mube, you know, a strong woman. She's the one we have in the house today. You know, so you can call us to make your contribution. We still have few minutes, you know, maybe we can accommodate 2 or 3 calls. So So call us to be part of this discussion. So but he made mention of the elderly as well.
Yes.
So that to show that a lot of challenges comes with when aging,
Yeah.
and it's part of disability. Purely, it's part of disability.
Yeah.
Because by the time you begin to age, a lot of things comes in. You know, you begin to lose your ability to see, your ability to hear, your ability to walk, and you now need some of the. You begin to face the kind of challenges that persons with disabilities are facing.
Yeah.
So to add to what the ambassador actually said, disability and the issue of being broke are not the same at all. You know, because it has a lot of challenges that comes with disability. Whether you have money or you don't have money, you face those challenges. And those challenges, before you can move on with your life, that challenge will be there facing you all the days of your life. And that's why what we're saying, that something needs to be done in order to alleviate these challenges. So that person with disabilities can now compete apart with you. Imagine somebody is broke and is also a person with disability. So if you don't take care of that, the challenges of disability, he will not face the kind of problem that you're also facing. You know, because disability comes with its own burden.
Yeah.
And those burdens are enormous. So,
in addition, I want to say, when you talk of the elderly, there was a time we were clamoring for retirees to join the disability struggle, because if you have spent 35 years of your youthful age serving the government, only for you to hear that you are retired when you are 63, at that point there is not much left for you to struggle. That's why most civil servants, when they retire, they die, because there's nothing to retire to. You spend all your useful years serving the government. So if our budgets are inclusive and intentional, covering civil servants in and out of service, you see, people will leave and go back to the society to also be useful to themselves, because there are already things in place. Your medical services still run. Government has a stipend for you to take care of you and your children to a certain time. You see, with that, like in the developed world, after serving government for this number, they can declare you disabled, so that government will become now the responsibility of government. But that is not the case in our own society. So I can,
and that's why they even employ some carers that will be there, caregivers
as homes and all. So these are things we are clamoring about, for making the society inclusive, so that people will also be productive in the society.
Hello.
Please, I have one question on the act. There was one argument we made some time ago, and I want to ask this question on the air. Is your mama fast recording from that?
All right.
The question, sorry to come back. There is a person in our account. It's my own, but in house, it's like you can feed the whole in terms of well.
Okay.
But it doesn't work. It's a cripple. So how do you, if the government now is helping the disabled people, how does government use this man?
It's okay. Thank you very much. He's actually talking about a wealthy person who is a person with disability. You know, so I think they need to actually change the perception, because the perception here is charity, looking at disability from the charity angle. So you can react to.
Okay, thank you, my brother. That rich man that you call him cripple is not a cripple to start with. It's just the right way to address him is a person with physical disability. That's fine. The fact you can now see that richness and disability are two different things. You can be rich and you have disability, whether you like it or not. No matter how rich you are, whether you like it or not, the society will still describe you as a person with disability.
And the challenges
because after giving you the food, feeding the whole country, he still goes back to his house to face the disability challenges.
Yeah.
Can you see the difference? So when you are broke, you can't even equate to disability, because there are two different ball games. There are two parallel lines. You can be rich and still have disability. You can be poor and still have disability. You can just be poor. That's not disability, because your poverty is a temporary thing where if measures are put in place, you get over it and become rich again. That at that point the poverty has disappeared. But that man who you address as a cripple, he has not stopped being a cripple because he's rich. See, this is what we are talking about. When he feeds you in the open, you don't know what he faced behind those to keep himself alive and healthy. So you can see that there are two different ballgames. So whether he's rich, whether he becomes the president of Nigeria today, he's still a person with disability that also needs some measures for him to function effectively in the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. It's also very important for you to know, for the fact that he's rich, can he access every building? Can he access buildings that have staircases everywhere? For the fact that he's rich, can he access every toilet? You know, for the fact that he's rich, can he be able to walk on the road that doesn't have pathways for wheelchair users? You know, for the fact that he's rich, has he stopped people looking at him as somebody who is a person with disability? So being rich is entirely different from disability. So this man, even though he's rich, he faces a lot of challenges. So, and those challenges are the barriers. The barriers that are created by the society is what we are saying, that remove those barriers so that those challenges can be minimized for persons with disability, so that we can function effectively within the society. Maybe that man would have been richer if the society was has been a society that is very inclusive. So that is also, I think our time is far gone. We just have less than a minute. So I just want to ask you this last one. So what the question is, this now is just call to action. So what do you think, just maybe in less than 3 seconds?
Yes.
So,
thank you, listeners. My take home today is we are advocating for the federal, state, and local government, to even private organizations, to ensure that their budget is inclusive. We're in the era of budget defense and different budget presentation. So we should be intentional in making our budget inclusive, so that we can make the workplace conducive for persons with disability to function effectively and independently. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Beatrice Awala-Mube, for joining us today on Caring Hearts. And thank you, our listeners out there. Thank you for tuning in to Armed Forces Radio. Today has been a very beautiful one. So until next time, I am Comrade Chris Abo. Please remember that whatever you do, think inclusion is very important, so that together we can have a more inclusive society.
And disability rights are human rights.
Bye for now.
Thank you. Thank you.